Thanks, Dara. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this webinar about streamlining packaging and design workflows. So we're really hoping that everybody who joins the session gets some insights from the experiences Screendragon has had implementing packaging and design workflows at different types of organizations, but in particular there'll be a focus here on consumer packaged goods. We have a particular background in that particular vertical, so a lot of the demo and discussion you're going to see is learnings from working with those sort of clients. So today, this is Fergus speaking here. So I'm VP of Client Solutions with Screendragon, and therefore I see a range of work, and I'm able to talk to colleagues about different learnings that they see in their work with specific clients. And I've invited one of those today. It's my colleague Dara. So why don't you say hello, Dara?
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for joining.
And Dara has particular expertise in design and packaging workflow, so I'll be calling on him to talk about certain use cases and what he's been experiencing as he works with his clients. So in terms of myself, I've got 8 years of agency background, and then I moved over to join Screendragon, and Screendragon itself has been working for more than 10 years and helping different sorts of brands implement different sort of processes. So it's not only design and packaging we do, we also handle other workflow challenges. So I'm going to give you an overview of the session today, and then give you a little bit more background on Screendragon and the work we do. So we've done a few introductions. The next what I'll move on to is the challenges we see in the market, and how we are solving for them. And what we'll do then, we'll give you an interactive demo of a sandbox site that we've set up in a way that we work with clients. So I'll be showing you how we are tackling process challenges, implementing stage gate systems, compliance, visibility, all the different things that can frustrate and slow down processes within a large or medium-sized organization. And then we'll naturally allow some time for question and answers at the end. We hope that you jot those down, and you can input those into the GoToWebinar questions panel, and then we've got a moderator here who will be able to call them out. In fact, I think Dara's going to help with that as we progress. So moving straight in, so I already alluded to Screendragon and our experience in helping clients with workflows. We've been doing it for more than 10 years, and we do it both at a brand side and an agency side as well. And in fact, we are often creating systems that are connecting those two worlds because, hey, it's a synergy that develops great work, and it's how can we break down the silos and the walls in order that we can streamline work and generate efficiencies, essentially, and save costs. So we do that and have been doing that with, here's just a range of our clients. As you can see, they're all pretty large global organizations crossing different industries, but you'll see within the CPG, Kimberly-Clark, Kellogg, Clorox, we work for P&G as well. And all of actually the projects I'm mentioning here have different nuances and different elements to them. But I'm not going to go into them all right now. It would take too long. I'm going to go and focus in on design and packaging projects and our experiences there. So to begin with, I thought I would, I guess, identify the experts among you with a little eyesight test, because I've seen many an Excel sheet in my time, and I've seen them across all the different departments within a marketing organization. But by far and away the most challenging of all Excel sheets are when working with the design or packaging teams. And they look something like this. And this level of detail is the granularity often you encounter with packaging projects, because there's so much specs to gather, there's so many handovers, there's so many different stakeholders that it just is complex in its nature. And it's really, how do you solve for that? How do you simplify it right down and in ways automate it, but with the level of governance and the level of checks that mistakes aren't made and things get done. So the work involves working with lots and lots of different people within the organization. Here are just some of them, the usual suspects, the packaging specialists, the planners, demand planning, your different agencies. You could have one for concept, different one for production, and bringing in other outside consultants. And then, of course, a key player in all of this is legal and the role they play in giving feedback, but also approving final materials that go to market. And with each of these stakeholders comes different responsibilities. So add another layer of, I'll talk positively, sophistication on top rather than complexity. And you're building up sort of racy models of, okay, who should do what and who should take a decision, but who's informed. And that's tricky. First of all, you got to work it out as a process, and then you got to implement it whereby people can follow it and follow it easily. So systems are needed to help with this. And then apply that to all the different projects that a design team or an organization would take on. And there are many, and those different projects, some of them are very simple, so they should move very fast and may have only 2 stage gates or 1 stage gate. Some of them, like a new product development that involves new packaging and all of that, that would obviously follow a way bigger timeline, more people involved because it's perhaps a new package. That package has lots of different SKUs and it's rolled out across lots of different territories with different translations, etc. So it requires a lot of thinking, a lot of structuring, a lot of orchestration of moving parts. And then you come to, okay, of the process. So what do I do when? And we've encountered that a lot, and it's mainly in working with the grassroots, the people on the ground, whereby they tell us that, okay, what do I do at this point in a workflow, and how can you help me understand what I need to do? Now, we're no experts in the actual work of a design or a packaging team, but we do know how to create a user experience whereby we can make it understandable for a new person coming in and joining the team. And I think that's what it's all about as well. In the world we live in today, there's a lot of changeover in staffing, building up and reducing down. So how do you make it easy for them to understand what they need to do at in the next step of the process? So let's say you don't have a process and you haven't got it systemized and don't really know what should be done when. What are the impacts? How can it really hurt your organization? This is just a very sort of provocative slide, and what it's designed to do is to inform you that as you move through a design process, the later that changes are made, perhaps to correct a mistake made earlier in the process, the more expensive it becomes, and it can become extremely expensive. Not alone because you've got to bring your design agency in again and go through rounds of revision. There's also, especially in this world, a multiplying effect of changes, because you could be, and we're looking at the slide here, you could be producing one design, but that design is applied across a variety of SKUs, a variety of packaging sizes, specs, POS, etc. And the later you make it, obviously more and more rounds of revision and more rework. And this is just an example from a particular CPG where cycle time could be increased greater than 6 weeks, production cost could go up 30% or more, and launch cost increase by 15%. But what I've heard from clients is the biggest, this could be a once-off, but what it does to the customer, and customer I mean in a Tesco or a Walmart, it obviously has massive repercussions to the relationship there. Because if that customer was giving you particular, let's say, space or shelf space for a particular week and you're unable to deliver product for that, that creates a serious problem in the relationship because nobody's making money in that particular slot. So it's very serious. Another very serious consequence of a bad process is, of course, potential recalls. This one I just searched last week. I was just looking around. There are many examples, some of them worse than others, but I think this is a pretty good one given that it could be caught with a good process. So here it's a particular chips brand, and it looks like, at least in this case, that they have mislabeled it with the gluten-free statement. So if the process was right and you had it automated and you knew that at a particular moment this design should be routed to, for example, nutritional labeling, they would have probably caught it and flagged that this is not correct for this brand or brand variant. So it's how do you put in those checks at the right moment whereby wrong packaging and wrong labeling doesn't go out the door. So all this sort of learnings that we've encountered leads us to the conclusion that it's very difficult to manage these projects in email inboxes and with Excel sheets or even SharePoint, let's say a basic SharePoint. Because of the complexity, you need to bring in a certain intelligence into your system, and you need to build it in as much as you can, because not everybody knows the totality of the process, so help them and guide them through the process, the better. So if possible, it should drive itself. Now, I'm not saying we should all go off and buy a Tesla, although that would be nice. What I'm meaning by this is if we could build in really smart stuff like automatic steering, speed lane changing, and parking, then we'd be much happier people and we go home less stressed, and because we'd be hopefully making more money for our company and be more productive, that we've more time with our families. So we've looked at that problem, and what we've done, one of the key things we've done is we've built in company methodology and logic into the project management process with particular workflow intelligence. What do I mean by that is that job specs, timelines, task dependencies, teams, and approval routes for a particular type of project. Let's call one a packaging work request, for example, for a new product. That's a pretty big project. We would be able to build in so that the brand or marketeer knows what information is required by the organization to launch that sort of project, what is the typical lead time that is followed, and if they request a lead time that is shorter than the standard, possibly the system says you need executive approval because this is not normal. Then we can build in the sort of tasks that should be done to tell them based on this sort of project, A, B, C, and D should be doing this at this moment in the project. We assign the right teams based on the job specs, and we build in the right approval routes. What do I mean by that? I mean that if this is a certain packaging targeting a certain target audience, so let's say kids are under a particular age, we could route the project to a particular specialist in the company to say we'd like your consult on this within the process before it moves forward. So they're the sort of things we can build into the workflow system to make it as close to being a Tesla-like experience as we can. So what we're trying to do is to be able to simplify the journey through the process here. So this is a overview of a pretty typical design or packaging process, in this case packaging, and what the objective of our software is to help you get through these stage gates and these activities in as productive manner as possible, involving the right people at the right time. So bringing a bit of that sort of Toyota just-in-time concept to the design and packaging process. So what learnings and what benefits are our customers experiencing from implementing a more sophisticated system to handle the work? I guess one of the first things is by standardizing the request process and the briefing process, and by informing the marketing or brand organization that in order to launch this project we need this data from you to get it going, what we're doing is we're getting less mistakes, and we're finding that there's less work created because you're not going back and forth, and we're reducing status meetings. The next one we've learned is that, again, by standardizing this and pre-informing the requester that this request is going to generate an impact on the organization, such as the compression here, and compression costs money, that we've learned that they often change their deadlines and change their timelines because they're notified upfront that this is going to put pressure on the organization. Therefore, have you an alternative route or approach to this project? The third one is visibility. We're running a particular approval process within Kellogg, and it's been proven that by generating more visibility, we're actually cutting down on certain status meetings. Because previously, information was siloed. Now we've created a common pool for the information, and people aren't having to go to meetings to pluck information from other people. They're self-serving themselves. So that's a massive gain in their daily week. Oh, what's daily week? In their week. Productivity. I mentioned sort of the Toyota way. We have applied that sort of just-in-time workflow notifications to the process. So when you're at a particular point in a design process, we inform the relevant stakeholder. We don't inform them 2 steps early or whatever, unless that is helpful, but we're trying to avoid big chain emails and creating lots of extra reading when it's not required. That one's very, very helpful. Compliance, make sure that it gets to the right people at the right time, and we have the governance in place. Performance tracking, anything we do, we need to be able to track it. So, for example, often a KPI is how many revision cycles and how long did a cycle take. We're able to track that because we're systemizing it. And actually, discovery for me in a recent project was by tracking everything and listing every project and having that new visibility, we found out that the supply chain are much better able to plan their plants based on the new visibility. That was new to me, and I think it's a great discovery. We haven't collectively quantified in terms of how much money that's saving, but it was an aha moment for me, thinking, wow, if they can better prioritize the production plant, then that's a real key benefit of doing the project. So that's what we're learning, what we've been experiencing. I hope you found, let's say, these points helpful. When I work at the start in the early phase of a project with clients, that often there's a business case involved in saying, okay, we like the idea of the project, but we need to prepare a business case. Many of these can be used in developing a business case, and in terms of weighting, they'll differ per client, because every organization has different processes and behave in different ways. And that's one of the nice things about going across organizations, is learning the differences in ways of working. So we have developed a software system to help better manage all of this, and I'm going to now give you a very top-level overview of the system. I'm going to give you a very sandbox-like environment. It's not a particular one for a particular client, but we are using some of the techniques that we apply to our client work. So the first thing to say is the system you're going to see in a moment is a system that does many things. It's both a project management system, it's a workflow system, it can do digital asset management and online proofing, it can analyze and performance track, and it can also manage resources. So if you're the sort of organization that needs resource management because you need to better plan internal resources and see about capacity, how many projects the organization is able to run, then we can add in that component into the total solution as well. So it's very modular, and that's why we've set it up in this way. You don't have to use all these different capabilities, and we can put a different user experience around it as well, again with the intention of simplifying it for the user and making it very easy for them to adopt. So I'm now going to switch and go into the live system. So one moment here while I bring this over here and click in there. Dara, let me know if you see now everything fine on screen.
I can see the demo site popping up.
Okay, so I've logged in here into this demo site, and we've branded in this way. Okay, it's the New York skyline. I forgive everyone who's not based in New York, probably most of you, but just to show you that it can look completely different, I have a demo environment here for Kellogg system we have deployed as well. So it can look like your brand. What I'm going to show you now is how we can solve for visibility. One of the big learnings, one of the big sort of business benefits I told you about earlier. So if I click into projects here, sorry about that. I had it up and I should have logged in before because I knew I was going to have a timeout session. But anyway, we go back and I went into projects here. And what I get immediately is an overview of my active packaging design projects. Okay, and this is what we're solving for here is that sort of eyesight test we had with the Excel sheets earlier on. We're not bubbling up all the information about the job. We're taking what's most important to track at a very, very high level. But what we are doing is bringing into it the great things about Excel, like being able to filter by fields, being able to sort, and being able to edit by cell. So all of these cells can be made editable based on your permission. So if I wanted to change the in-market date for a particular project, I just have to click into it straight away, and I could change it. All of these line items here are particular jobs, but they're a full job in itself. If I click into one of these, and you'll see it later, it has its own file system, its own timeline system, its own tasks and workflows. But what we wanted to do here was create a portfolio view where you're able to see everything at once and be able to filter it and track stuff as well. So if I change view here because I want to look at progression of stuff, I'm able to go in and say, okay, I can see how far some of these projects are along the curve, and I want to look at them up by stage gate because I want to see how many are in the deliver phase and how many are in the discovery. Now, because this is a demo system, we're showing loads in discovery, but you can imagine applying this to your project and seeing a sort of different map here of where we are in the process. Now, let's say you have different workflows we're showing here packaging design, but you can easily flip and see, okay, we've got more creative orientated projects, therefore I'm going to look at my creative projects. This comes to being able to create these different views on projects, and it's based off project templates. So Dara's going to talk to you a bit more about project templates, but that's a really important part of Screendragon, because that's where you can build in your methodology behind the different projects that you want to run in Screendragon. So in order to launch a project, or it could be a request, we can have a request before launching a project, but in this case we've set up the system whereby you can launch it immediately. You go down here in the bottom right and you click on Create New. And what you see here is the available project template types we have set up for this system: a creative, a design, print, a simple packaging project, and a standard packaging project. And maybe, Dara, you want to say a little bit more about what these templates contain and why they're so valuable to customers.
Sure. So I suppose as you mentioned earlier, how important it is that you have a very defined process, but the reality is you're not going to have just one product. If you have multiple product types, different packaging lines, different could be geographic regions, there could be a slightly different process that needs to be followed. There could be different industry regulations for a particular region, different teams needed on different projects. So there's two trains of thought here really. One is that you create multiple project templates like you're seeing at the moment, and Fergus will go into a bit more detail in what's inside in each one of these templates, or what you can do is just have one template, and behind each one of these templates, when Fergus clicks on it, you're going to see a project initiation form that collects information that's specific to this project type. Now, rather than having a number of different templates available to the team, you might just have one template, but you can build logic into this form that automatically selects a template based on the inputs. So you can see here there's lots of drop downs and different things like that. So you could set this up that depending on the inputs the team selects, that the template that is chosen for them has the correct tools in it, has the right tasks, the relevant timeline is selected for that project type, and also the right people are involved.
Thanks, Dara. So what you're seeing here is me initiating a project, and don't take it from what you're seeing that this has to be applied to your business. This is completely dynamic. So we built this just for the purpose of this demo. We said, okay, let's build in a nice one here, a dependency between is the project account specific? If yes, bring up that the user needs to fill in which account. But consider this like, what is it, Survey Monkey on steroids. You can do all sorts of different fields, and you can connect it to all different attributes of your business. So when we work with customers, we set up a database of attributes like what's your business units, categories, brands, target markets, specs of packaging. All that sort of data can be coded in, so you don't have to type it in. And it can be, what's great about it is, can be reported on later on. So if you want to say, show me how many projects we've done for Kleenex in that particular region with that particular value, we're able to report on that via the reporting tool. But anyway, your brand, coming back to the process, your brand manager, whoever it is, fills this in and they submit it. And what it will do, I'll see whether, actually, have I got enough filled in? I'll just click on submit and see whether I see this need to fill in the name of test project, including spelling error. And I fill that one in, and it's going to create the project. Here I can decide who do I want to inform. I want to inform anybody right now in this demo. And here's the beauty of it. This knows, based on the template I picked, that it's the packaging with a task and timeline. We've got a 4-stage system, and if I go into tasks, it's filled in the standard tasks that need to be done for this type of project, and it may have already filled in the team. It has filled in the team, and then I can work on resourcing. But I'll show you one that I've already filled in, like all the best chefs. I'll go back and look at my project list again, and I'm going to go into my package in design view, and I'm going to choose the Fruit Loop package in design project here, because what I'd like to show you here is governance, compliance, tracking, and also how do you workflow assets through the process. So when I come into this project, I can see it's in the concepts phase. I can immediately see all the activity happening on the project, approvals, tasks being completed, files being uploaded, and I can look at the job spec here again, the job jacket, just to check what are we doing, and that can be dynamic. It can be edited during the course of the project. But in here in files, again, we're in concepts, and in concepts we have a folder budget and concept files, and we go in here, and now we're seeing the file management system and how we can do artwork approvals and send it to the right people in the chain. So you see immediately here that this one has been approved by legal, this one has been approved, but it's been approved by a different body, and we've got two things that are locked down for editing, pending creative director approval, and this one is also pending creative director approval. This one here is on a workflow, and it says it's overdue, and my options are to approve and send to the account director on request, and this one isn't overdue, and it's got the same actions. So just to show you what tracking we have when an asset goes on a workflow, if I click into this one here, you can see that I'm able to go back and look at every interaction with this asset. It was uploaded, it was sent on a workflow, it was rejected, please see my annotations regarding trademark usage, and then it's back to me to opt out, I've updated as requested, please take another look, etc., until all okay with me, signed off by Stephen Beach on this date. So all of that is captured. You don't need to take any notes. The system just does it. So if I was, for example, to work in a very normal way on this, I would say, okay, it's for me. Let's say I'm the creative director. I click in here. I look at it. Now, I'm going to play the role of, let's say, nutritional. I could do any. I'll zoom in here anyway. You need to be able to zoom. With one of our clients, nutritional labeling, people would check this. If I'm a creative director, I may be calling out the stars here. I don't like the stars. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to choose a rectangle, and then I'm going to highlight the moon and the stars here. And I'm going to say, moon is not good, only stars, for example. And then I'm going to save that. And then that's all good. I'm going to exit out of that one. I can then decide, do I want to send this note to them specifically? I'll decide not to send that. But let's say I was all good with that. What I do here is I'd say approve and send, or well, in this case it's request changes, and I'd say see my annotation comments, and then I'd submit that. And then it goes and it's gone back, awaiting them to re-upload it. So it's dynamic here. If they re-upload it, go for version 2, and we'll be able to track again all the path of the workflow. Dara, do you want to add in anything there on workflows? Should I show how a workflow is created and the different steps they can take?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I suppose, you showed when you set up the project and you filled out the initiation form that it's not just files that can go on workflows that you could take, whether it's a project request, whether it's a packaging brief, and route that through the correct people to get their feedback and input before it's actually signed off and then the project is created, or a brief is indeed sent to the actual studio to be actioned.
That is true. It can be a digital form or a file, any. And I missed a really important one, and that is how do you start a workflow, and what workflows can you have? So here I click on Start Workflow for that asset, and I can choose from a menu of workflows that have already been attached to this template. So you see here this packaging compliance approval. I say, okay, I want to use that one for this one. And it immediately knows this is a two-step approval, design director, legal review. I can choose the due date, and the system is already telling me, okay, this user is assigned to this step, and in the legal review, the legal team is already assigned to this step because that's what's been built in to the system. And what I mean by built into the system is that there's a whole workflow builder inside Screendragon whereby you can build the workflows and align them to the way your business operates. So I'll do a tiny little departure because it's an important one here, up to the admin tools. Now this is for administrators, not for regular users. They won't see any of this. But if I go in here and go into the workflow builder, I'll show you exactly what we mean. So it's packaging compliance approval, and I click on that. This is what dictates the flow of that particular workflow. And Dara, do you want to say a little bit more about this, and do you want me to click into one of these?
Yeah, if you could open one of the steps there. So as Fergus said, it's a very visual builder and allows us to create quite detailed processes that are mapped to the way our clients work. And what these workflows enable them to do is get the right inputs from the right people at the right time. So one of the screen you're looking at now is just allows us to configure each one of these steps. But if you just click on the dates one there, Fergus, so we can build logic and rules into the workflow that control the due date for the actions that are required of a person. We can set it up so that if you're responsible for a step, once that step starts, you'll get an email notification. But what can often be more important than those sort of event-driven emails is that when the process not breaks down, but when there's a blockage or a roadblock, such as someone misses the email or somebody might be on vacation, that the system knows that if something isn't done on time, that it's escalated to the right people. And whether that's a case of an email alert goes out to a backup person, or whether it goes to the person who initiated the workflow to let them know that the due date could indeed be at risk.
Okay, this is very, very advanced. We'd need a whole session to talk to you about all the capabilities here, but take it from me that you can really automate whatever workflows you have in your business and put in all the different permutations that apply. And one of the very important ones, and that links up our work in progress projects to a repository system, is that you see here we've got projects. I'm going to exit now the admin tools, by the way, so I'm going to go back to projects. We've also got a library up here. So assets approved in projects can be workflowed into the library automatically and go into finalized assets, and then it becomes somewhat of a digital asset management system. We don't sell Screendragon as the de facto digital asset management system, but there's tons of DAM capabilities, and one of them being able to workflow assets from here into the library, and within the library then you're able to put them into particular folders automatically, like finalized assets, and then you're able to add metadata to the asset, and you're able to share the asset with even with users or people that are not paying users of the system. So for example, if you had a particular ad hoc agency that you needed to share a particular asset with them, you could do it in this way and only expose that asset and not the rest of your system. So it's very, very useful from a permissioning point of view as well. So that's connecting projects into a library. One of the things I wanted to show you in projects, for those of you that want to manage people resources, is down here, resourcing. In resourcing, we have connected the people in your system, the time available they have in the week, to planning of projects. So it is a full resource management system with the ability to, you can even, even though most of you won't use that, put rates and other information around the particular resource. And you can also use it for, as you can see, for managing leave and training and other non-project activities. So again, that would require a lot more details. Tasking, there's full task and Gantt built in here, so it's a replacement for MS Project in a way. It's got all the team profile information that you need, and a very interesting one for the creatives amongst you is we've built in a really multimedia board capability. What I mean by that is that within a project you can have ideation using sticky noting, you can draw shapes, you can do text, but you can also use different layers and put on YouTube and put on different assets, and those assets can be downloaded and can be previewed. So it becomes very much a multimedia whiteboard, concept board, lookbook, some call it. It's got tons of capability and can be integrated directly into a project. So last two things, reporting. You need to be able to report on your projects. So within Screendragon you can pull all the data about your projects, such as status notes, start and end dates, project types. You can chart them. You can also look at revision cycles. I just put a query in here for, I want to look at a particular project and see how many revisions we've been doing on certain assets. So these are all document version 1, but in this one I see we're on to our second revision of that asset. And this is really easy to do by the end user. So if I wanted to change or create a new one, to give you an example of what it looks like, I click into this edit one, and you see at the top here, these are the data fields I want to bring back. Well, if I wanted to bring back more, I just choose from the fields available to me on the left, and I add it to the right, and then I build it up like this. And all of them can be exported to Excel, no problem at all. So that's how you do your KPIs and do your reporting. And in terms of management of the whole system, that's up here. And I haven't got time to go into all of this because I want to allow time for questions. But all of this here is manageable by system administrators with a little bit of training from Screendragon. You can build your workflows, you can build your forms, your project templates, what we mean by project portfolio management is managing those views, those project portfolio views, and you can decide on notifications. Does your team want to reduce the amount of emails, or are they really looking to be notified at the right time and due dates, and 24 hours before something is due, can we send out an alert? All of that can be managed here in the one place. So I think I'll leave it there in terms of a demo because I prefer to react to any questions popping up. So maybe Dara, if things have been coming in on the wire, maybe you can call them out and I can react to them.
Sure, yeah, I know we've a couple of questions after coming in, but before we get into them, just if anybody else on the line does have a question, please feel free to type it into GoToWebinar and we will try and get to that as well. The first one for us is from Sarah, and she's asking about forms. Are they built using HTML, and how do the lists of values in them get populated? So that's really about the form builder.
The form builder, so just to remind you what a form builder is, when I create a new project I can initiate a form. This is just one particular type of form, so a design print process. So how do I get these details? Again, that's an admin job up here. It's not HTML, that's for sure. There's no programming required. It's really, really, really simple. So that one I think was the packaging design form, so I click into that. And this is one that's already there. So you see it's got these 3 tabs, project info, and you see brand, business unit, creative agency. Say I wanted to add another one to the bottom of the list and say country. I could add that there and I'll say I want that to be a drop down and I want it to pick from my country list. And then that's fine. Do I enter help? Do I make it mandatory field? Yes. And I'm going to save. And then that becomes the list, and it's got the list of countries here. That's how easy it is. The form builder is connected to your database of attributes. So that's up here. You build your attributes. You tell the system what your countries are, what your deliverables, departments, and then you connect your form to those attributes. That's how it works. Any others, Dara?
Yeah, we've two more. Just one here from Brian says you mentioned about working in the system with partners. How does that work? And I'm guessing what Brian is getting at is that if you don't want partners or agencies to see everything in the system, how can you lock it down? I suppose.
There's multiple ways. Those multimedia whiteboards, for one, can be shared externally. But let's say you're in a particular project and you've got some assets and you want to expose those to certain key partners, but they're not in this system. You can select a folder like concept files and you can decide external share. And what that does, it allows you to share just that folder, and you can say, I'm going to enable downloads, and I'm going to give it a sharing title, share, let's say share with design partner, and then you can give it an expiry date as well. And so when I do that and save, it asks me, okay, give in an end date, save, and then I can email that to the partner, and they can get directly into that folder and download the assets. So, and to remind you that you're sharing, we highlight it with this icon.
Okay, and we've one here from Alison just talking about compressions. It's an interesting concept she hasn't really heard too much of before. And what happens to a project if someone tries to compress the timeline?
Okay, so within this particular client, when somebody launches a project and they pick one of these, we have a standard timeline attached to that, such as 24 weeks for that sort of project, for that sort of brand. When they request 16 weeks, we know that that's over a 30% compression, and we then route the request to, I believe, an SVP, and we flag it as this is over and above the normal compression. I think we accept up to 20%, but if it goes over 50 or 40, it's flagged to a senior vice president and asked them to fill in I think it may be a business case, or certainly to improve the extra financial cost to the organization. And then once that approves, then it can follow its path forward. So it really is an early warning sign, and allows the organization to take a decision on whether to proceed or not. So again, it's building in moments where decisions can be made based on good, sound business sense.
Okay, and last one, just after coming in there from Andrew, he says our process changes all the time. Would we need to retrain the team each time we made a change to a workflow or the process?
No, when you're training this, well, first of all, you can design them very easily yourself, or if you need extra help, you can come to us. But you can build into those workflow processes lots of different flexibility. So it doesn't have to be very locked down. Can build in options to reassign it to somebody, add an extra person in, skip a step, go back a step. All of that can be very easily built in, so you shouldn't feel straitjacketed by the process.
Yeah, and just to add there, I suppose it's the workflow itself actually manages the process. So if you do add in an additional step into it, when the team are using the workflow, then that step is going to pop up. The right people will be emailed, and you can build in instructions in there to tell them what has changed and what will be happening next in the process. That's all the questions I have here, Fergus. So I think we're 9 minutes to, so perfect timing.
Oh, that's great. Perfect timing. Well, thanks everybody. I think I got one more slide just to give you my, in case you have any follow-up questions and they pop up, because I understand there was a lot to take in. I can give you my email address here, fergus@screendragon.com. So if you've got anything very specific to your needs, a particular challenge, something you've been struggling with for a while, you can send it on and we can give you our feedback, whether we've dealt with it before, and hopefully we can help. But please feel free to send on. If you're interested in the video or the deck, I believe Darrell will be uploading those to our blog or one of our digital channels in the coming days.
Correct, yes.
And we'll inform everybody that that joined these sessions or signed up where to pick up those materials. So I think that's it. Thank you for your time. I hope you got something from it, and looking forward to hearing any follow-up questions. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much, everybody. Bye-bye.